chat too.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to WP Roundtable. We got a little slipped up there and distracted, but here we are. And we've got two cool things going on. One, we've got a great guest, as always. And two, we're adding a new member to the panel. That would be Nick Bennett here. Nick, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Nick. Nick Bennett. I work at Tribune at OI Chicago, where I use WordPress every day. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, we're excited to have you here, Nick, and I think you'd be a great addition to the panel. So this is a pretty exciting occasion for us, and we're also very, very excited here at episode 31 to be having a very, very excellent guest, somebody that I wanted to have on the show actually for a very, very long time. Since the first time I met her, I said, "Gosh, we've got to get this person on the show because she's got some cool stuff to talk about." And she's just a really, really great person. So finally caught up with her, and Sheri finally agreed to be on the show. So Sheri Bigelow is with us today. She is a creativity cultivator at Automatic. Actually, Jason might correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the third Automatic employee that we've had on the show so far. And she does a lot of stuff with themes. And I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about what she does. So, Sheri, you could just introduce yourself just a little bit and what you do.
Hey, I'm Sheri Bigelow, and I'm on the theme team at Automatic. And I run the theme happiness team, actually. And so what I pretty much do all day is help people make beautiful websites that they love. That's kind of how I like to put it. And I actually do a lot with UX research, and I'm really into heavy use of UX lately. And I've collected a lot of things over time. So I've been Automatic going on 6 years. So I've collected a lot of things that I do and help out with, all kind of around. And I really love it. So basically, one of the main things I love helping people with is kind of like developer to user. So kind of a thread, like kind of closing that gap in the thread in the work.
All right. So, first of all, thanks for joining us on the show. I know that I've been really, really excited about this discussion because I've always really enjoyed our conversations in the past, and I think this is just another great opportunity to chat with you. So, there's a lot that we want to know and a lot that the whole world wants to know all about Sheri Bigelow. So, we're going to start at the beginning, and if you could just tell us just a little bit about before your career, before you got into obviously your current job with Automatic, before you got into your career with the web or doing all the photography stuff, like what did you want to do when you were a kid, when you grew up, and what was your early transition into your working life like?
Okay, good question. Good starting point. So I actually started out in school as pre-med, which I actually decided fairly quickly, actually not as quickly as I should have, that wasn't something that I enjoyed doing because it's really hard to be around people that are something that need help, and it was just so sad. I couldn't quite keep a handle on. I feel like if you're around computers, you can break them and it's not going to hurt anybody. So if you rip out its guts and break it apart, you can get another one or put it back together. I really like that about computers. And if it's code, it can always be fixed. It can be redone, or a server can be set up. So I think that really appeals to me. So I actually started in pre-med and ended up with a business degree and a chemistry minor. So I landed my first job as a webmaster because I was always doing web stuff in school. So I was a webmaster for a little biotech, and it felt like fun. And I sort of just managed all the websites, and that's sort of my path to before Automatic.
That's pretty cool. So you were a webmaster with some companies managing their websites. When did you first get exposed to WordPress and start thinking that you could make a career kind of in this space?
So I actually found WordPress after I was using Vue. I don't know if you remember Joomla, because Joomla still exists. It wasn't called Joomla, it was called Mambo. That really dates me, huh? But yeah, I just started looking around for something better, and WordPress was it. So I started it, and I wanted to learn like everything about it, and that's why I like started building websites for people.
Fascinating. So, at what point did you kind of make that transition to doing like WordPress full time and then putting your application in Automatic? I'm kind of curious about that. Automatic was a much smaller company at that time, not the household name that it is today. So talk a little bit about that transition where you discovered this company and said, I want to work there.
So when I first really heard about Automatic, it's kind of a funny story. I was giving a talk at Utah PHP Users Group, and that was a kind of a user group that was pretty geeky, I thought, and so I think that's really cool. So I was like really proud of myself. I was one of the only women, and they convinced me to do a talk, and I was like I want to say one of the first things I ever talked about, and Joseph Scott showed up at that. He was the first Automatic employee I had ever met, and a few months down the line, Matt came and visited, and he had like a get-together. So Joseph set up like a kind of a meet and greet for the community. So Matt was there. I met Matt. He was like, "We're hiring," and I was like, "I already have a job. That's awesome. So I don't really need one." So, but then later, not too long later, actually, I was moving, so I needed a job that wasn't geographically dependent. It sounded really appealing to me, so I was like, "Oh yeah, Automatic would be really cool." And then once I started actually doing a trial, which most people do before they join Automatic, I was like, "This is a really, really good company." And I of course loved WordPress before that, so I was just like using it more for a hobby and more for. I didn't actually use it at my last job. So at Myriad Genetics, I just managed all like whatever kind of web properties that the marketing department would get built or hand down or decide they wanted made in-house. Like I would do all of those things and manage the internet. So I sort of like kind of was managing all of the sites and tinkering with code where I could like get my hands on everything. And it was my first job out of college, and they didn't have PHP installed when I first CSS when we first started, so it was like interesting seeing that kind of build. I mean, they only had like a place for the website because they didn't think they needed anything else, and so kind of it really evolved a lot while I was there. And it was meeting Matt in the community was like he was so down to earth and he was so nice, and everybody that I met from Automatic was so nice. I'm saying that out loud, and people say that to me now. So they say everyone I've met from Automatic is so nice, but it's like 100% true across the board for as long as I can remember. So that's how I met Matt and found Automatic through my PHP users group of all places.
Wow, that's interesting. First, I want to say, Sheri, that that's a really interesting story. Also, that I think that we're not hearing very, very well. So maybe, I don't know, get closer to the microphone or something. I don't know. Because I don't want to miss anything. This is really interesting stuff. So you're saying that you just kind of met Matt at a community event of sorts, and that he mentioned that they were hiring, and at the time you had a job, and you didn't kind of follow up on that until you needed a job at a company that was not geographically dependent, and so you sought out this little startup called Automatic that you'd encountered before, and moved into the distributed work life. So how was that transition going from the traditional work environment to going into this small distributed company?
So it was actually pretty hard for me because I moved across the country at the same time I took the job. So I didn't know anybody. I was sort of in a new place. My normal friends weren't around. My sisters weren't around. So I got super, super isolated when I started. And I would, like, not see people. I'd be like, I would go out to dinner and be like, real people. There's real people. Like, can you guys hear me all right? Just checking.
Pretty well, pretty well. It could be a little louder.
Okay. I don't know if I can turn up the microphone, but I'll just hold it a little closer. I don't know if you could see it in the video.
That's great.
I feel like, should I hold it like this?
All right, Sheri. Well, I've got one for you. I've watched a bunch of your videos, and it sounds like you've done pretty much everything at Automatic. It sounded like every time I watched another video, it was a new introduction with, I do something different at Automatic. So will you tell us, like, where you started and then, like, the progression you went through?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a tinkerer, so I think that it seems like that because I get my hands on different things to experiment with all the time, and then that's true for, I feel like my work camp talks are like an opportunity to explore new and different things, right? So I kind of see it as a challenge to learn a new skill even sometimes. So I started doing WordCamp talks that were, okay, so I started at Automatic as a happiness engineer. And I did that for like 4 years. And then I switched to Team Custom, which was a new team they were making on the theme team. And I continued doing like CSS support. So I switched from just helping everyone to basically helping people with themes and CSS. And now I do a lot more UX research together with that team, and I ended up doing a lot of like internal things to help people with like getting everything straight around launches and making sure everything's like all the ducks are in a row. And and then I've done a little bit of theming, but that's not for Automatic. Like I haven't made a theme that is on WordPress.com, but I've helped with like getting those themes set up and having all the documentation and all of that kind of stuff and helping people set them up. So with all my different intros and my like WordCamp talks, it's because I'm so interested in like pretty much everything, which kind of makes me perfect for happiness engineer because I know like a lot of different stuff a little bit. So it makes me be able to like kind of have like answer most questions from most people pretty quickly on like support things. So, and I hope that I can help like other people inside our company get better at doing that. So those are sort of my roles, but I think I'm always reaching out. I'm always reaching for different, for better, interesting things, and it's just sort of part of my personality. So I'm always talking about those different, interesting things.
Sheri, I have a question for you about, you spoke about starting out as a happiness engineer, and I heard you talk about that in one of the WordCamps you went to. You've been to a lot of WordCamps, and I wonder, was there a lot of traveling involved with being a happiness engineer? And you have been to a lot of WordCamps, suggesting you have been traveling. How did you work that into your life?
So because I was so isolated, that's probably why, like when I first got the job, that's probably why I like volunteered to do a lot more traveling than I think most people would. So I was like, what? You're going where? See, I'll go. I'd like to go to that. So I sort of was like, it was my way of socializing at that time because I didn't know anybody local. And I moved again, and like I've actually since then started a user group in Saratoga Springs, New York. So we have a monthly meetup, and it's really like I try to emulate your case because I had so much fun there. But yeah, I think the travel has been sort of something I sort of latched onto as a way to like, see real people in my life versus like being isolated and working from home. So I wasn't really good at it at first. I think I've gotten better at kind of like balancing chat and like, not getting too isolated or stuck. If I could really get kind of in the zone and focused and like lose track of time completely. Like it'll be hours later and it will seem like seconds to me. That happens to me. I know that happens to everybody, but I feel like it happens to me a lot. Because I guess because I get really focused on what I'm working on.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, Sheri. So definitely it is interesting. Sounds like some kind of unique experience, but that's different that so many people get to work through something like that or get to have a work life like you've described. Um, I'm a little curious to just hear you describe because you've been with the company since it was considerably smaller. You said, did you say 6 years?
Yeah, just about 6 years. Like I worked for a few months as on like a part-time basis because
Right.
usually the child, but I actually started it while I was still working for my first night job. So I did it in the evenings, and then I moved, and I thought oh, I'll get a real job, like an in the office job. I thought I would get when I moved, but I ended up loving automatic. So I was like, hey, wait, maybe I'll stay. It's kind of awesome. So it worked out really well, that I got to stay even though I wasn't there. That was going to be how it was.
Right, right. So, I'm so curious, just like to have you talk a little bit about that, a little bit about how maybe things have changed since you first started, because, and I don't know if this is exactly right, but I think that the size of the company is about 10 times what it was when you started, roughly.
More than, because I think there were 22 people. There's 22 people that still work here, work at Automatic that were there when I was hired. So I want to say I was in the 30s somewhere, the overall number of hires. But there were 20 or 30 people, I think, at the time. So it's grown a lot. When I think about, but it's still pretty small for such a big, for the amount of stuff that we do, and it's like a really small group. So, and on the one hand, you're like, it seems so big, it's grown so much, and then our plans for the future is to grow a lot more. So in a couple of years, or maybe less, in a couple of years, we're going to be talking like, how do we get to be 2,000 people? That's crazy talk. So I feel like it's actually really cool to see it kind of grow, and the difference is there's just I guess I know a little bit less about what's going on. Like you could follow every conversation, and this is like startup typical, right? But you know everything. You get to work on different things. There's not a role. There's like every single conversation that happens is very you can have the bandwidth for it, you know. You know everything that everybody's talking about. And now if you read everything that everybody's doing and everybody's talking about, it automatically you know so many different things getting developed and so many different projects getting made. So that's a huge thing for me.
Wow. So maybe tell me a little bit about what's different now and how things have evolved. I would imagine, as a company grows, everybody gets an opportunity to kind of specialize a little more, and when a company's smaller, you have to wear a lot more hats, and there's fewer processes in place, and you got to figure it out on your own. And there aren't, teams dedicated to something. There's maybe an individual or somebody who works on it part-time that are really important things to the business. How has it all changed over the 6 years that you've been working with this very, very rapidly growing company?
Well, that's a good point. Specialization is a huge one because, we have roles that we didn't have before, and we didn't have very much in HR. I don't think we had anybody for it. We had one person in HR and then other things when I started. Now we have several people that do that kind of thing. So obviously specialization is that. And just we actually were completely flat when I started. So we not only made teams a year or two after. I'm not very good at teams, but got made after I started, so like just being a part of the team versus the completely flat hierarchy, the company, the non-hierarchy, was a big shift and an interesting change. And then our tools have changed a lot. So we didn't have, right now we use a thing called P2. It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys know or familiar with P2, and you know, it's getting made into O2. So if you go to get02.com, and you can sign up to get notified when it goes live. But it's a tool we use internally, which is basically our blogs that we can type into on the front end. So all the comments, all the things that go up in real time, and those kinds of tools and conversations, like how we talk to each other and record that, has changed a lot over time. So I think that's really interesting to see kind of growth and evolve. And I think that we're pretty good at it. I mean, we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but we're always like, we're a bunch that obviously experiments a lot. I mean, we have, for the longest time, I never had a meeting. And now, as you get bigger as a company, obviously, you have to start having meetings so that people can like get all the right, you know, cases involved, and make sure that everyone's on the same page, and that everything understands how it's going to affect their team work and their team. But we didn't. I remember I was so proud of the fact that I never had meetings before. We could do that meetings. And I was like, this is great. We never had meetings ever. So that's a big thing. I don't know. Do you want to know more about the structure? Of course, we required a whole bunch of companies. That's a big change too. So I mean, I feel like there's a lot more things that you could do, and you can actually, we have a thing where people can ask to switch teams, which is really cool, I think, because I think everybody goes through this period of discontent. So a lot of people, some people change jobs a lot quicker than other people. So when you get bored or get, like, I don't know, mad at something in your job and you want to change, like, inside Automatic, you can do a change to a whole different job and a different team by asking to change it, and it switches things up for you. Versus, like, at another company, you would probably have to, your options would be a lot easier where you want to do something different and you didn't want to work on the same project anymore. You have to maybe change jobs. Like, I think that's kind of interesting.
All right. So thanks, Sheri. That's a really good answer. So we're gonna real quick. We're gonna do a quick segment that we try to do every week, where we're gonna talk about our picks of the week. Just to give you a quick break, and these guys are gonna talk about something, and I'm gonna chat with you in the chat real quick. All right, Jason.
All right, so I'll start off, I guess. My pick of the week, give me a second here, I pulled it up, is actually just this really cool quote that I saw on Google Plus today. And let's see. So Chris Brogan, I follow Stone Temple Consulting here, and they've got a lot of really great stuff. And Chris Brogan shared this quote. Where's the quote? More and more people basically will be writing out that they are a YouTube celebrity in their tax forms, and I just thought this was really cool because just the thought of it, the idea that people are, the web presence is changing that, because we deal with a lot of people who are making a living with WordPress, who are, you know, getting into their own businesses and creating their own jobs and lifestyles. Especially, you know, here we are talking with Sheri, and she's talking about how, you know, being with WordPress has given her a mobile lifestyle, or less location-dependent lifestyle. And so this quote, this photo, just really inspired me today, for nothing, you know, to say the least. So that was my pick of the day. I don't know if it's a great tool or anything, but something inspirational, I think. Who's next?
Cool. I can go next if the group can hear me. Apologies for being a little late today.
You'll be fine. It'll be docked out of your paycheck.
Dang it. All right. I deserve that. Definitely. All right. My pick of the week. I was just recently putting together a theme geared towards small businesses, and I wanted to build kind of an attractive front page, with some of the where companies can put some of their product features, that they want to highlight on the front page, and also testimonials further down, just a section what our clients are saying, with gravatars pulled in, just images of their clients and maybe their name and position, and then what the quote was after they had the good experience with this particular small company or small business, what they had to say about it. So yeah, I just found the Woo Themes ones to be really great, really lightweight, and I used those recently. So it's features by Woo Themes and testimonials by Woo Themes. Both are free on WordPress.org. So check them out if you need a good business theme front page. Who's next up?
Nick, you got one? Or no?
Well, I'll just share one. Oh. You ready, Nick?
Yeah, I guess I could talk about something. I went to the Chicago WordPress in the Loop meetup just 2 nights ago. Was it 2 nights ago? I suppose it was last week. And really great community. I really like the meetups in Chicago. That's the cat trying to get into my room. It's a great, like, I've been to 2 WordCamps already. The meetups in Chicago are great. It's the same kind of great diversity and great community. And one thing I really love about them is the diversity of skill level. People go from, I'm trying to start a website and I've never made a website before, to I develop full time and that's my income source, and developers and so on. So it's a really cool way to find out about. It's very inclusive, that's what I mean. And I really enjoy it, and I would recommend to anyone thinking about trying to get interested in WordPress, interested at all, ever heard about it, or just who already knows about it and wants to get more information, to seek the meetups, because they're like, many non-committal, typically free 1 hour, 2 hour WordCamps, sort of, and gives you a taste of the flavor of WordPress.
Thanks, Nick. I totally agree. And my pick of the week is the thing that I want to recommend and tell people to check out. Go to chat.wordpress.org if you haven't already, and get on Slack, because I think it's sweet. Matt recently announced at WordCamp San Francisco State of the Word that all communications are moving from IRC to Slack. So all WordPress core contribution community teams and groups and subgroups are using Slack channels now. Slack is an application that one can use for asynchronous, real-time chat communications, and it's got some pretty exciting stuff. Really, really, really cool. I'm having a great time using it and communicating. I feel more connected to the community than I was before. So if you haven't already gone to chat.wordpress.org, go check it out. And that's that. So let's get back to Sheri a little bit. I know we got a lot more to talk about, so many more questions to get through. We always have more questions than anybody could get through in an hour, but
too. And can you hear me better? No?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to it.
Pick of the week for you.
Oh, you have a pick of the week. Great, great. Thanks, Sheri.
So check out. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Check out thesis.com. That's all I'm going to say. Matt mentioned it in his State of the Word too, so I don't know how many people caught on to it. I only saw one tweet about it, so check it out. And
say that one more time.
Thesis.com.
Thesis?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Great. We will have to check that out.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting twist, so.
All right. Well, thanks for that recommendation. So good. All right. So Sheri, we've got just a few more questions about your role at Automatic, then we want to talk about a couple other aspects of what you do. Maybe talk a little bit about, I'm just curious about this, because I've heard you talk about it before a couple of times when we were chatting together. You talked about like some instances where you've interacted with or what it was like working with Matt, the guy that you know, a lot of us are like, yeah, well, we just get to watch him in State of the Word or see him in keynote talks, but what's this guy like to work with, the founder of the company? So you've worked with him for a long time. What do you say? What's it like working with Matt Mullenweg?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think Matt is amazing, and I'm super inspired when I get to hear him talk about stuff. And I wish that everybody could hear like him, the way he talks about Automatic and over time, and how he's like so passionate about WordPress. I mean, I think that comes off in every interview he does, but just hearing it over time and how elegantly he talks about like his ideas and how he's kind of shaping Automatic and his vision, I'm really inspired. But I think he's so down to earth. Sometimes he's hard to sometimes he can give like really short replies, so it's like that can be really hard when you're working on a project. But I think that's efficient, so I think that's maybe how he thinks about it. So I hope that's okay that I say that. But he's like, I wish everyone could just hear, like, I wish that could kind of rub off on everybody, like knowing how he's told us that support, like the happiness engineer role, is one of the most important roles in the company. I think that's like, just hearing that, him say that, is amazing when you're working with that. And I remember him saying that at one of our first, or our second happiness meetup, and I was just like, that is exactly what I need to hear, and that really motivates me. And I really love, one thing I heard him say in a podcast about Automatic, I can't remember what the interview was, but he was saying that he created the company as a place where he would want to work. And I think that's a really cool thing to be able to, like, I think he's doing it. I think he's making, like, I feel like some people will give that lip service, but I think he's really building a company that's a place where he would want to work and that would love to work. And I think I really respect that, being able to actually make that happen versus just talking about it and wishing it would happen. It's not easy to make a great place to work for so many people. And sort of we get to play a little geographic arbitrage where we get to live wherever we want, and that's like one really good thing I think about Automatic. But yeah, building a company that's like lets us travel and lets us switch teams and lets us like really cares a lot about our work environment. Like those things are all like easily forgotten, or like easily taken for granted maybe. And I really respect that he's building a company that's a great place to work. So I think it's pretty cool working with Matt. Not gonna lie.
On that note, Automatic's done a lot of acquisitions, and can you tell us maybe how that's impacted the company as a whole?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
WordPress Automatic has done a lot of acquisitions over the years. Can you tell us how like the acquisitions impact, you know, how an individual acquisition may impact the company, like step by step, or each one? Does it make an impact on how things are run, and how are those employees incorporated if they're brought in?
So when we do an acquisition, I think they go differently. I think it all just depends, and they work that out kind of as they go. Who's going to go where? Like, we just acquired Code for the People, and I think that they're going to be on kind of various different teams. And so when there's two main things that I think of when I think of our acquisitions is, one, I usually get a really awesome new tool, like interesting, cool thing. Like, we acquired SimpleNote, and it's like, yes, that's awesome. And CloudUp, like, I was like, awesome for screenshots. I never have to worry about how, you know, like, it's a new toy and a new thing for me, and I love using all that stuff. So I feel like I feel like it's like Christmas when we get an acquisition because it's something cool and new that I get to use. And then I get new colleagues. So for me personally, that's kind of how I see them. But I think building, like integrating people in from an acquisition is kind of a blend that you have to kind of just take one company at a time. And I actually don't know that much about the strategy behind how people get moved in. I just know I get cool new employees, colleagues, and cool new employees.
So, Sheri, it sounds like you have some maybe some insights. It can be hard to predict about what the company's going to do. But do you have any? By the way, your sound is good. Do you have any insights, or do you have any predictions or hopes about where Automattic will be going next year, 2 years, just in the future in general?
So I will take that on and talk about hopes before I'll talk about predictions, because I'm not sure how good I would be at predicting the future. But what I hope is to see a lot more of our different tools and features that get really mature, right? So, and get moved into other things that we're working on, like products, working on some really new stuff, and that'll get moved into WordPress.com at some point. And it's just really, I think I'd like to see those things get more, just like kind of inducing very different projects, and be able to see that for us. And what else? I think I will predict that we're going to grow a lot more. That's what I'll predict. That we're going to get a lot more into
like a campus? You're going to have an Automattic campus?
I don't know. Can we have a distributed campus? One, right? I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see that evolve distributed.
So it sounds like you're a lifer. Do you think you'll be with Automattic for life, if possible?
I would not be sad about that. I would not be sad to be a lifer at Automattic. Yeah, I don't think about moving to anywhere else. So yeah.
Satisfaction right there.
Yeah, I love it. It's a really great company.
Cool. Next section. We wanted to talk to you about Design Simply. All right. First of all, you start us off with what led you to start Design Simply in the first place.
So when I was in college and I was had my first job, a lot of people would ask me to build websites. So it was kind of just a hobby, and it turned into being a lot more about photography. Photography is something that I used to do with my little sister a lot. She's a photographer in Salt Lake City. Her name's Renee Keith. She's amazing, and we would have so much fun doing photo shoots together. So like I made a business around building working on those kind of photo shoots. I did a lot of stock photography and just websites. Like I mainly use it as a way to build skills. So I think it's a very unusual business kind of thing.
Very cool. How about the name Design Simply? What's the story and the inspiration behind the name?
Yeah, I think that's just kind of more my style to all of my designs and sort of my artwork ends up being very simple and like geometrical. Like when I do line drawings, they tend to be just pretty simple, clean kind of things. And so I think that. And luckily the domain was free, so I sort of like hunted a lot to try to find something that fit really good, and I really liked it, so I've just always used that name. I think it makes sense for me, I think.
Very cool. I'm sure that's a sought-after domain for sure, Design Simply.
I don't know. No one's ever asked me to try it. So.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How has Design Simply evolved over the years since it started?
So actually, it's funny that I don't do very much with it now ever since I joined Automattic. So I actually haven't done that much with it at all. But I still feel like photography is kind of under that belt. And when people ask me to do it, I'll do it under that name sometimes. But yeah, that was really a way for me to like build skills and like just have a place to kind of hold that money. So it wasn't like a big thing like that I wanted to grow a lot, but it definitely helped me get to where I am with my skills. And it's sort of a place that I go. I feel like it's a place that I go to like learn new stuff or try new things. Like if I want to make new things, to do weird, crazy stuff, or that maybe aren't like ready for the masses. That's where I feel like I would put it. So it's definitely got a place close to my heart, but it's not like a big freelance business that I did. It was always kind of a side thing.
Okay, well, I've got one random question on that. Did you learn anything business-wise? Have you learned anything, especially like if it's a side business, maybe advice that you give other people who have like a side business on that similar page?
So it depends on your goal, right? So if your goal is to have it as a side business, then I would say get good at compartmentalizing. And I don't know if that's the best advice for everyone because everybody's got maybe different people have a different goal. So, but if you're going to do it as a business, I feel like if I wanted to have that take off, I feel like I would have had to go all in, and I never really went all in on it. So that would be my advice.
I have to unmute myself. You say you never went all in, and you've talked about how much you enjoy working at Automatic. Did you ever think about going all in? As in, did you ever think about doing design simply full time?
You know, maybe when I first started it, I thought maybe that's what it would become. But yeah, I guess I had things to come up in my life, and the jobs that came up, I really love what I do. So I've never really thought about taking it bigger. But I definitely love it as it exists.
It's a place to do, as you said, the place to do your wild and crazy stuff, where you don't have to answer to anyone.
Yeah, it's on my terms, you know.
When you take that full time, then you do have to answer to someone, and then it becomes not the playground, right?
Yeah, if you're depending on clients for your living, then it's a lot more serious than work. I think I wanted it to be fun and stay fun, and not like I really did want to do it on my terms, and not having even tell me how to do my check or what to do or how much of it to do. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And that's a luxury. It's kind of a cool thing to be able to do with a side project.
Yeah, that's how I feel about my band. I don't want to get paid for this. Forget about it. No, this is what we do for fun when we're not working.
Yeah, don't take it too like if something went wrong, I wouldn't take it too seriously. You know, it's just fun.
Yeah, it is. Well, you're definitely good at what you do. I've seen a lot of your work online, and it's always excellent. And you've been like the assigned photographer for, well, you would know how many events. Or I've seen that you were the assigned photographer at a couple, at least. Almost recently.
Yeah, WordCamp San Francisco I've done a couple years, but other stuff has just been stuff that I've taken for fun. And, like I've just given the photos to people, so you can, I like give them one of your things or whatever, and sort of give them away. Because I really just have fun working.
Okay, so I really want to talk about the theme stuff that you do, because you've got a lot of cool stuff to say about design and user experience and stuff like that. Maybe we could chat just about that for a minute or two. You are a member of the theme team, that's right?
That's right.
And what are your responsibilities here with the theme team? Can you describe those to us, and maybe describe a typical day for Sheri Bigelow as well?
Okay, so as you guys know, I started in happiness, and I switched to team custom, and I still did CSS support and all of that. And then we sort of got merged into the theme team, and I got assigned to actually build up a community happiness team. So my role is actually shifting a little bit more back towards happiness. But I try to on UX research and really looking at that. It's kind of skills that I'm hoping to build myself and I find super interesting. We do a lot of usability testing on the theme team and sort of documentation and showcase and the user examples in the showcase. And I generally kind of like make sure everything's going smoothly between our users and our developers. If you really that bridging that gap. So I still feel like I don't know, maybe it's something in my personality too, where not only have I been there a long time, but I've collected all these little things. So there's probably a bunch of things I'm forgetting. I'm like nervous on an interview, but I mean, there's a whole bunch of little things that I've collected over time and that sort of like makes up a role. My main role is the theme happiness team now, and I'm really keen on like making it an amazing place for my team to work and taking away obstacles and like definitely getting kind of UX research facing things more like into the flow, but also out of the way. I feel really passionate about our like philosophy at Automatic is shipping things fast, so that it's always moving and always changing. And you always have to know if you have to be ready to test. You can't just talk to the user and say, "This has been updated. And this is how it works in the theme." You have to actually go test it out. So because everything changes so fast and moves so fast. I feel like yeah.
That's right. So I was just going to talk a little bit about refer to some sites that people can learn more about Sheri at. Obviously, designsimply.com that we talked a little bit about before is where you can see Sheri's blog and some of her work. It's a pretty unique site, I gotta say, with a theme that Sheri designed herself, and maybe we would ask her a little bit about that in a sec. It's available on the WordPress.org theme repository, I believe. And Sheri, I also highly recommend. Jason mentioned them a little bit earlier, but Sheri has some talks available on WordPress.tv that are recorded from previous WordCamps. I've seen Sheri talk at a WordCamp before, and I really, really enjoyed her presentation. It was one at whichever WordCamp it was. I remember it being kind of one of the highlights, one of the better presentations. It was very informative. Sheri has a lot of good information, really good insight, very engaging speaker, and you can also find out more about Sheri on by following her on Twitter and LinkedIn. She's got some speaker deck slides. We'll put these links in the show notes for everything so that anybody who wants to know more about Sheri can track her down and learn more, because 1 hour isn't enough to cover such a dynamic individual. All right.
It was North Canton that we met.
That was North Canton, which I thought was a wonderful WordCamp, and I had such a great time.
And your talk was really great as well.
I
really enjoyed your talk.
You went to my talk. Oh, wow. Okay. I gave 2 talks actually at that event.
Cool.
But I enjoyed it, and I plan on probably going back again next year. So we hope to.
That's a pretty big work. I feel like they had more tracks than people. So like it felt like there in the last part of the day there was like must have been like 5 tracks and a few hundred people or something.
There were. I've never seen a WordCamp with as many tracks as North Canton did. I don't know what it was, but there were 5 tracks most of the day, and at some point there were 6.
Yeah, it switched, so it suddenly felt like there were less people like spread out between different talks.
Yeah.
I thought that was the only thing about that WordCamp, but I actually really like small WordCamps, so it kind of giving that maybe give it a little smaller of a feel. But I had so much fun at that WordCamp because I also stayed an extra day and then I did a half day, which like I love adding on a day. I call them buffer. Like I call them buffer trips because I feel like you should get to see something in the place that you visited instead of just just the conference, right? So I try really hard to go visit something, like, or go to the aquarium or whatever's around. Like, not the aquarium in Ohio. That would be weird. I don't know if there is. I don't think there is.
Okay. How can you hate the aquarium? That's great.
No, I love aquariums.
Oh, I love aquariums too.
I just don't know if there's one in Ohio.
Oh, I don't know.
There's that. So, getting back to what we were talking about before about the theme team, your theme team work. There's you here on the theme team. Can you give us an idea of who else makes up the theme team? What kind of skills they contribute to it, and if you have any, if you think you're the all-star on it, or if there's someone else who's an all-star, or if you're still looking for an all-star for the theme team, we make it really
so many people
excellent.
are all-stars on that team. There's so many amazing people on that team that are super cool. And so it's made up, it's getting big enough where it has little pockets and different sections. So there's like, I think most people now start as a theme writer, and that means that you're code reviewing themes, like fixing bugs with themes, building up themes, and we have like a section called the Theme Gen team, and they make new themes and work on different projects. Like they're working on one now that's going to try to help people like get set up quicker and faster with themes, because sometimes people, like, one of the problems we find is that maybe as the themes get more complex, the harder they are to set up, right? So that's why we try to say just some options, but not every theme is like that. So we try to, we're trying to think of ways to kind of like close the loop with users to make it easier for them to set up the theme like super fast. So we're thinking about and working on those kinds of tools. And then we have another section of the team that works on things like various projects, like so they're more like maybe you would call them design engineers, so they're the developer side, and they're building things like working on the showcase or some of the back-end tools, or some of how the marketplace looks for our theme marketplace, which I don't know if you guys know, but people can submit themes to WordPress.com to sell, which didn't used to be. It used to be by invitation, but now it's open. People can submit them at the WordPress.com/theme.
And this, just to clarify, this is the WordPress.com theme submission versus the WordPress.org theme repository submission.
Yeah, totally different things. I would say there's a lot, a lot different requirements. Probably, I don't know how much more, but it's a pretty big checklist to make sure your theme is ready for WordPress.com. It has to be top-notch.
Cool. That's good that it's such high-quality standards.
Definitely. So, Sheri, we're winding down here just about to the end of our hour, and it's flown by so fast, and we've gotten through just a fraction of the questions we wanted to ask. I feel like you're going to be one of those guests that we're going to have to hit up again and have you come back and join us.
I would love to.
Yeah, that would be quite a pleasure for us, because we did not even get close to all the questions that we wanted to ask about. I do want to run through just a couple final quick ones, just to kind of wrap things up and cover a few extra little bits. So, real quick, what is next? What does the future hold for Sheri Bigelow? What are the things that you want to do more of, and what direction do you see yourself going, short term, long term?
Okay. So, like I said, I'm really excited about building out our kind of business team. I'm interested in making that team amazing, and then like, I don't know, we'll have the best team support in the world. And I'm interested in doing a lot more on the UX front. I still want to conquer that skill. And I have kind of a secret list, so it's not secret anymore. I guess you guys know it. That I would love to do some speaking that's not just at work. Like, I'm interested in always speaking like a couple times a year at work camps, but I'm interested in really trying some of the UX or kind of business events. And we'll see if I get up the courage to submit. these people will have me at one of those competitions.
All right. So another quick question. Who are some examples of some people who people from the WordPress community who really inspire you? And also at the same time, who are some people that you would recommend that we seek out and get them to come on the show?
Oh, there's so many people. Really, seriously, we have such a great community. So I'll tell you one person that comes to mind from the recent past. Scott Taylor came and spoke at WordCamp Saratoga Springs, New York, and he was, I love the way he talks about becoming a contributor, and I feel like he ramped up. Like, I feel like he really, like, just went, like, amazing all-star into, like, becoming a rock star contributor. Like, you know, like, once he set his mind to it. And I loved hearing him talk about that. So I was like, he's somebody that inspires me about contributing to core. And I think anybody from the core team, like, I just met John Blackburn at San Francisco a couple weeks ago, and he was amazing. I think it was so much fun to talk to him. He's going to say, have on today, and somebody I think is inspiring. There's so many people, I can't even think of all of them.
Yeah, that's hard. Even I, at this point, don't even know how to answer that question. That would probably be my longest question if I were ever interviewed on something, because the list would just be so long. You were breaking up just a little bit, but I think you mentioned Scott Taylor and John Blackburn. Was there anybody that I missed?
Nope, that's it. I really liked hearing Scott Taylor talk at WordCamp Saratoga, so we'll get the videos up soon, so if people want to watch the talk, they can find it. And he talked a lot. Can you hear me okay?
Most of the time, yes.
Okay.
Is Saratoga where you're located?
Yeah, and I co-organized the WordCamp this year. I had a lot of fun. I think it's always more work to co-organize a WordCamp or organize one than you think it's going to be, and I sort of knew that going in, but it was so much fun, and I had a great working to co-organize, so that helped a lot, and I'm kind of glad I checked that off my bucket list.
I would agree with that. I would agree with you completely that it does turn out to be a little more work than you expect, or than you think going in. But we just I was just in the same boat this year myself, organizing my first WordCamp here in Ann Arbor, and it was a great experience. I was so happy to be involved, one of the organizers, and
I was to WordCamp Ann Arbor. That sounds really cool.
It was great, and I would really love it if maybe you could come and join us next year.
Yeah.
That would be super good. Anyway, so we're really here at the end. Is there anything that we didn't cover, or any questions that we didn't ask that we should? Anything that's like totally relevant? What's going on right now? Should we totally mention it?
No, I can't think of anything else. That's terrible. That's my one question that I have terrible, no good answer. So it's the only question where I won't talk too much. I probably talk too much on my other question.
It's a tricky question. It is. It's a difficult one. Most people don't have much to say for that. Although if there was anything that's in the news right now that we just didn't talk about because we were neglectful, then.
Well, thesis.com is kind of a funny redirect, so I think that's a good, for pick of the week, I think that's kind of a good one.
Well, we will link to that in the notes for this show and make sure that everybody knows about it. And I look forward to checking it out. Thank you for sharing.
Awesome.
So, Sheri, really grateful that you took the time out of your day to join us. Where can people find you online, and also where will people bump into you face-to-face in the real world? Meetups, WordCamps, social events? Where can they see you?
Okay, so actually the most active I am is on my photo blog, which is actually shoots.wordpress.com, which is kind of funny. It's a kind of inside joke because I get teased a lot for saying the word cute too much. I don't think I say it too much, but everybody else tells me that I do. So maybe it's true. I'm not totally sure. But those are mostly just pictures that I post that are like, I don't know, just things from around, things that I see that I think are interesting. And it's really fun because it's sort of my photography outlet. And most of those pictures are taken with my phone and just random things. But I have a lot of fun blogging in that, and I actually use it for dog food and WordPress. It's my kind of main WordPress.com. Like you said, .com. I sort of experiment there, so it doesn't get updated. You can find me on Twitter. Twitter is the best place to find me online, probably. And then offline, I have no WordPress book and no tips book for the next few months, which is not typical for me. So I guess I'll just post about things as they come up. People that, I'm always kind of at work camps, especially ones that are around us, upstate New York. So hopefully I can get some more kind of thing.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for sharing, Sheri. It was an absolute pleasure having you on the show. And I'm really serious that we got so much else that we didn't get to cover that I'm going to have to hit you up again to join us. And I really look forward to the next opportunity where I get to bump into you in real life and we get to hang out.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us, Sheri.
Cool.
Thank you, Sheri.
All right, Sheri. Well, thanks again. You're awesome. And have a great night.
Back at ya.